The house that answered back. People think haunted houses announce themselves. They don't. They feel normal at first. That's how they get you. When Maya and her husband moved into the old duplex on Cedar Lane, the only strange thing was how quiet it felt. Not peaceful quiet, considerate quiet. Like the house was careful not to interrupt. The first few weeks were ordinary. Pipes knocked, floors creaked. Old houses do that. You learn their language and stop listening. Until the house started responding. It began with footsteps. Not heavy ones, barely there. Always upstairs. Always pacing from the bedroom to the bathroom and back again. Slow and distracted, like someone thinking too hard to notice where they were walking. Maya assumed it was her husband. Her husband assumed it was the house settling. Neither of them mentioned it out loud, because saying things gives them weight. One night, around 2:30 a.m., Maya awoke to the sound of the bathroom light clicking on upstairs. She lay there, eyes open, listening. Water ran for a moment, then stopped. The light clicked off. A second later, her husband shifted beside her and whispered, half asleep, "Did you just get up?" She didn't answer right away. "No," she said finally. They lay still. No footsteps came back down. In the morning, the bathroom was dry. The mirror was warm, as if someone had stood close to it for a long time. That should have been the moment they left. Instead, they stayed, because fear is expensive and denial is free. Over the next months, the house began to participate. If Maya sighed loudly, something upstairs would creak in response. If she dropped her keys, a soft knock would follow from the wall behind her. Once, out of frustration, she said aloud, "Can you stop?" The footsteps stopped. For 3 days. On the fourth night, they resumed, closer this time, directly above their bed. The worst moment came during a dinner party. 6 people, laughter, music, normal life trying to drown something out. In the middle of a conversation, the smoke alarm upstairs chirped once, just enough to interrupt. Maya called out without thinking, "Sorry, old house." From upstairs, clear as speech, but wrong in tone, came a sound that mimicked her voice perfectly. "Sorry." The party ended early. No one wanted to explain why. They moved out a month later. The new tenants stayed only 2 weeks. When Maya returned to collect mail still being forwarded there, she noticed something carved faintly on the banister, newer than before. A sentence, scratched deep enough to bleed the wood. "We answered every time." Maya still sleeps with a fan on. Silence feels like listening now. The last call from room 413. Daniel worked night reception at a small hotel near the interstate, the kind travelers use when they don't plan to stay awake long enough to care. Room 413 had been out of service for years. Officially, water damage. Unofficially, guests kept asking for refunds after staying there. Daniel was told one simple thing during training: never assign 413, even if the system glitches. At 1:17 a.m. one Tuesday, the phone rang. Daniel answered automatically. The caller ID read, "Room 413. Static breathed on the line. Then a woman spoke. Her voice sounded tired in a way that felt earned. "I think I'm in the wrong room," she said. Daniel swallowed. "Ma'am, that room is—" "I know," she interrupted. "That's what they keep telling me." He glanced at the hallway monitor. The fourth-floor camera showed nothing unusual. Empty carpet, closed doors, exit sign humming softly. "Can you tell me your name?" Daniel asked. There was a pause, long enough for him to think the call had dropped. Then she said, "I used to have one." The line went dead. 10 minutes later, the phone rang again. Room 413. This time, Daniel didn't answer. The phone rang until it stopped. At 2:03 a.m., the elevator chimed. Fourth floor. The hallway camera flickered, then showed a woman standing outside the elevator doors. Her clothes were outdated, her posture uncertain, like she was still deciding whether she belonged there. She looked directly at the camera and smiled. Daniel quit the next morning. The hotel manager didn't argue. 3 months later, the building was sold. During demolition, they found an old emergency phone inside the wall of room 413, connected, powered, and worn smooth from use. It rang once when they removed it. No one answered.
She was already sitting there. Lena took the evening bus home every night at 9:40. Same route, same seat, same quiet understanding with the driver that she didn't want conversation. She liked routines. They made the day feel finished, closed. The bus stop sat under a broken street lamp near an abandoned playground. The swings still moved sometimes, even when there was no wind. Lena told herself it was traffic pressure, air currents, anything ordinary enough to ignore. That night, the bus arrived late, 9 minutes, long enough for the city to feel emptied out. When the doors opened, Lena stepped on and stopped. Someone was already sitting in her seat, third row from the back, window side. A woman, mid-30s maybe, hair pulled back loosely like she'd done it without a mirror. She sat very straight, hands folded in her lap, eyes fixed on the dark glass of the window. The bus was nearly empty otherwise. Lena hesitated. It annoyed her more than it should have. That seat had become part of the ritual, and rituals feel personal even when they're meaningless. She sat one row behind instead. The bus pulled away. At the second stop, Lena noticed something odd. The woman hadn't moved, not shifted, not blinked, not adjusted her posture when the bus lurched over a pothole. At the third stop, a man boarded and sat across from her. He glanced at the woman, frowned, then looked away quickly, like you do when you see something you don't want to understand. Lena checked her phone. 9:56 p.m. No signal. The time still worked. She looked up again. The woman had turned her head slightly, just enough to be looking at Lena now. Her eyes were glassy, not dead, not alive, reflective, like mirrors that had been breathed on. "You're sitting in my seat," the woman said. Her voice wasn't angry, it was confused. Lena opened her mouth, then closed it. Apologies rose automatically, the way they always do, but something stopped them. "I sit here every night," the woman continued. "I wait until the third stop. That's when he used to get on." "He?" Lena asked before she could stop herself. The woman smiled faintly. "He said if I missed him again, he'd stop looking." The bus slowed. Fourth stop. The doors opened. No one got on. The woman stood. For the first time, Lena noticed her feet. They didn't touch the floor. The driver didn't react. The doors closed. The bus moved on. The seat beside Lena was empty again. Too empty, like it had never been used. When Lena got home, she couldn't shake the feeling of being late to something important. She slept badly, dreamed of sitting on a bus that never reached its last stop. The next evening, at 9:40, Lena arrived early. She stood under the broken street lamp watching the playground. The swings moved. The bus arrived on time. When she stepped inside, her seat was empty. Relief washed over her, sharp and sudden. She sat. The bus pulled away. At the third stop, a man boarded. He was breathing hard, like he'd been running. He scanned the bus, panic tightening his face. "Have you seen a woman? She's supposed to be here." Lena's mouth went dry. "What woman?" the driver asked calmly. The man looked directly at Lena. The bus lights flickered once, twice. Lena looked down. There were footprints by her feet, wet, bare, facing inward. The man's voice cracked. "She said she'd wait." The bus kept moving, and Lena realized, too late, that the woman hadn't taken her seat. She'd been keeping it warm. Lena didn't get off her stop that night. She watched it pass, her street, the familiar pharmacy sign, the darkened cafe where she sometimes bought coffee when she felt lonely enough to justify it. The bus didn't slow. The driver didn't glance at her in the mirror. The man stood in the aisle gripping a pole too tightly. His knuckles were white. His eyes kept darting to the empty seat beside Lena, then back to her face, like he was trying to line two memories up and failing. "She never misses it," he said, not to the driver, not to Lena, just to the air. Third stop, always the third. The bus slowed. A stop Lena didn't recognize came into view. There was no sign, no bench, just a stretch of road where the street lights ended abruptly, swallowed by trees that leaned too close to the asphalt. The doors opened, cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of wet leaves and soil that had never seen daylight. The man stepped down. He hesitated, one foot still on the bus. "She waits for people who hesitate," he said, finally looking at Lena. His eyes were wet. Not with fear, with regret. "That's how she knows." Then he stepped off. The doors closed. The bus moved on. Lena turned to the empty seat beside her. For a moment, just a moment, she felt warmth there, residual, like someone had stood up seconds ago. At the end of the line, the driver stopped and turned around. "Last stop," he said. She was the only passenger. "Did anyone else get on tonight?" Lena asked. The driver frowned. "Just you." At home, Lena washed her shoes twice. The smell wouldn't leave. She stopped taking the bus for a while, walked instead, took longer routes, avoided routines like they were traps disguised as comfort. Months passed. Then, one evening, rain started without warning. She ducked into a bus shelter, breathless, annoyed at herself for not checking the forecast. The electronic sign flickered. 9:40, on time. Lena felt a familiar pull, not curiosity, expectation. The bus arrived. When the doors opened, Lena hesitated. Inside, third row from the back, window side, a woman sat very straight, hands folded in her lap, eyes fixed on the dark glass of the window, waiting.